Previously on...
They don't need a previously on.
You're right. Why a lot of people don't know the term B-movies is because of home video. With wider audiences now exposed to these films through purchase or more often rentals, the term B-movie evolved into the less demeaning name of cult classic. During this surge of B-movie excitement, many filmmakers would make their names not just by creating sensationalism, but by being business savvy as well. A prime example is Roger Corman. He is one of the most successful B-movie makers because he stuck to the idea that time really is money. His idea was that the faster you make a film, the less money you spent on stage space, crew, and cast, not to mention needing to feed all of them. He was a master of the short shooting schedule. In fact, Corman once shot a film in 2 days on the very subject of feeding people to a talking carnivorous plant from outer space. It's the story of a young man named Seymour who works in an unsuccessful flower shop on Skid Row. One day, Seymour finds a strange and unusual plant. And being a one-of-a-kind plant, it becomes the flower shop's star attraction and mysteriously brings success to the flower shop and notoriety to Seymour. Until one day the plant suddenly begins to wilt. To remain successful, Seymour goes on a reluctant killing spree, feeding his victims to the plant and giving renewed success to what has now become a little shop of horrors. Maybe you've heard the name. It may have been fast and cheap, but by having a good story, it was turned into a comedic Broadway musical. That musical would then be made into a film, bringing the story of a talking killer plant back to the big screen. Modern audiences don't realize just how many films are remakes of B-movies. Later in his career, upon seeing the success of a space opera called Star Wars, Corman commissioned a script from the writer of the B-movie Piranha. It was called Battle Beyond the Stars. This film is a retelling of Akira Kurosawa's The Seven Samurai, but set in space. The A movie by Kurosawa had the majestic overtones of the ancient Japanese culture. The B movie had scantily clad women, a scene-chewing villain, and a farm boy flying around in a spaceship shaped like a cow with very un-cow-like udders. But since Star Wars had a high budget of $11 million, Corman decided to research if low-budget space operas would play in the US before he would risk $2 million on one of his own. As part of his research, he bought the US distribution rights to an Italian space opera called Star Crash. Not only did he see that it was successful enough to produce Battle Beyond the Stars, the box office sales recouped the cost of buying the rights for his test research. Okay, for all the positives I've shown, I can't ignore the fact that some B films are actually bad. Bad Bs can show you what not to do. So how do you do this without wanting to rip your eyes out? You ever heard of riffing a film? Mystery Science Theater 3000 and Riff Tracks are two of the more well-known ones, or YouTube shorts like Honest Trailers. Riffers will comedically point out things like bad acting, tacky sets and costumes, and all manners of bad filmmaking choices. The trick to learning is to enjoy the comedy, but also pay attention to what the riffers comment on the most as you actually watch the movie. Doing it this way, you'll also start recognizing poor characterization, unbelievable story logic, or laughable melodrama. But if you can survive, laugh, along to the truly bad ones, you might just find there are some B-movie gems amongst the riffs. While it is good that there are thought-provoking, emotional, world-changing films, sometimes you need to grab the popcorn, candy, soda, and standard, substandard hot dog, yeah, that's my list, leave your brain at the theater door or locked in a cupboard next to the potatoes, and enjoy a not guilty pleasure. It's actually a good thing seeing a movie that doesn't leave you requiring therapy.